I was born and raised in Kuantan, Pahang, where I went to preschool, primary school, and high school. My parents were small-time business people. My dad used to slaughter cows and goats and sell them at the Pasar Besar Kuantan. My mom was an amazing housewife. I grew up in a typical kampung in Kuantan. It was a wooden house in the middle of a forest that my grandfather had cleared out back then to kind of build his house. Between my house and my grandparents' house, there's a small cow shed where we keep our livestock. And when I open up the window in the morning, the first thing I see is our cows and goats. I grew up pretty much with animals. My first language was BM. I didn't speak a word of English. My sisters didn't speak a word of English. My parents did not speak a word of English. My grandparents did not speak a word of English, but my granddad did speak some Urdu, Farsi, and Tamil because of his background. There were a few kind of factors that nudged me into wanting to speak English and wanting to speak it well. And one of it is that in my high school, there were a lot of people from English-speaking background, and they spoke it really well too, which accelerated my learning. And secondly, I came to realize that there were a lot of things that I was missing out on because I wasn't speaking English. Someone said this to me, that the language of knowledge in today's world is English. It limits someone's growth if you don't understand and you don't speak English, because a lot of the books are in English, a lot of philosophical ideas are written in English. So I really needed to keep up with that in order to access the vast knowledge there is out there. Thirdly, I felt that one of the ways to improve myself is through language. And this is not just about knowledge, this is about how I present myself, what I'm capable of. It took a lot of courage. The courage to humiliate and embarrass myself is if I speak wrongly, because you've got to start somewhere. You can't just learn English quietly for 3 years and then suddenly start speaking the 4th year and speak very good English, because pronunciation takes a while to perfect. So I just started at 13 when I went to high school. I just started speaking English with friends who spoke English. And I didn't think I spoke it very well, but I kind of used those as points to, challenge myself and to learn better. And then secondly, I looked to free resources. YouTube, the internet was already there when I was in high school, but the more informal spoken English, I learned through songs, I learned through movies. My sister was obsessed with Harry Potter, but then we thought that we were missing out on a lot of the cool things in Harry Potter because we didn't understand the language, right? So we just forced ourselves to watch movies in English until we get the nuance, we get the lingo and the jargons of the language. And then there were activities on how to expand your vocabularies. Read a lot of books, read a lot of articles. I used to keep a personal vocabulary kind of note. Every time I find like a new vocabulary, I write it down in my notes. I don't write many a week. I just write a few things that I want to truly understand how to use the word, and I try to use it for that week. My theme would be those 3 vocabularies where I try to use it in the context of everyday life within that 1 week. And I used to do this throughout, for a solid 2-3 years I used to do this until it was intuitive enough for me to learn new vocabularies. And then the more advanced writing kind of came with formal education.